So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Christian Bluemelhuber, who, as I previously said, is Professor Euromarketing at the Solvay Business School. Before he came to Brussels, Christian held several positions at both Munich universities. He was an advisor to the Bavarian Ministry for Commerce and Infrastructure and did a lot of consulting projects for major companies like Smart, Daimler or Burda Media. His research and his publication are mainly around cultural aspects in marketing, around, as I said, customers, consumers' behavior, communication, and strategies. He promotes very actively more creativity in marketing. Christian, the floor is yours. Thank you, Christian. Take the floor.
Thank you very much. I'm always deeply impressed by the Belgian people that you understand and speak so many languages. This will be a new experience for you, so the next 20 minutes is in kind of Bavarian English, but you will manage this. We have 20 minutes to discuss ideas about consumers and the link between the consumers, the companies, and of course the top managers that are here in this great location. When we speak about consumer orientation of the 21st century, so then we have two major ideas about consumer orientation. One is more attitudinal, and the second core idea is more managerial. And the first, more attitudinal aspect of customer orientation is very easily pronounced by this very old saying, a man without a smiling face must not open a shop. And as a German, I can say there are too many shops in Germany, and that's perhaps the same here in Belgium. Yeah? There are lots of companies who are more or less successful without a smiling face. So how can this be and should this be? That's the more idea of attitude. So do you, do your employees, and even do your customers have the attitude to serve other people? Or do your customers have the attitude, the idea, the expectation of being served? So do we really demand we want to be served as a good customer? So that's the first idea of customer orientation. The second one comes more from a managerial standpoint, and this is the question, how can you manage customer orientation, and at the end, how can you measure customer orientation? What's behind this big idea? And behind this big idea is a concept that's now 5 years around, and more companies follow this concept, not only as an idea, but as a managerial and measurement tool of customer orientation. And the big idea here is customer equity, meaning that companies should create value for the customers. And when you create value for the customers, then the customer creates value for the company. And this value that's created for a company by a customer, that's called customer equity. And that's a figure that you can manage. And if you go deeper into this idea and into this figure, then we'll find three main drivers. So how can we increase this customer equity? And these three main drivers would be, on the one hand side, to care for the value of your products and services. Yeah, that's called value equity. Then you could care for branding, for your brand. That's brand equity. And the third idea is retention equity. So to deal with the relationship between a company and a customer. And you have heard a lot about customer relationships, CRM or whatever. But this is a little bit different, because here we don't ask what's in for the company with a CRM system, here the question is, what is the advantage of a consumer to be a loyal consumer? So what's the advantage of loyal consumers for the consumer and not just for the company? And every company here in the room has to answer these three questions. What's in for the consumer in our CRM system? How strong is our brand, and what's the value we give to our customers? So that's Custom Orientation 2008. But we should look into the future. And this is a citation that's 5 or 6 years old. And this tells us that lots of companies do a lot about consumer orientation. You measure, you do strategies and advertisement, everything around. But at the end, lots of experiences are so disappointing. How can it be that you invest so much energy and effort in consumer orientation, and then the consumer says, oh God, it's very disappointing what I receive there? And to understand some reasons why this is the case, we'll have to understand a little bit the time we live in. And this time we live in nowadays, today, 2008, is labeled by the philosophers as the next phases after modernity and postmodernity, and this is now labeled in French. So the French philosophers would label it hyper-modernity, and more the English-speaking word would label it the liquid modernity, meaning that the world changes faster and faster and faster, and that companies, people, consumers cannot keep up with this increasing speed. Today everyone speaks about a financial crisis. Tomorrow we will speak about an economic downturn. Then we speak about private crisis and. So things change faster and faster and faster. And that's also true for your consumers. The consumers' expectations change faster and faster and faster. And when you want to fulfill the expectations of a consumer, so you have to change faster and faster and faster. So everyone is changing faster and faster and faster, and that's a very, very difficult situation for everyone of us. And one compensation for this change could be a loyal relationship between a company and a customer that's based on a deep understanding and based on commitment. And this could be one answer to all the crises we have out there, so that one compensation could be that strong companies and strong brands better care for their consumers. When I came to Brussels and took over my Inbev-Baillet Latour chair, I gave a first opening speech, and this was a slide out of this speech I held 3 years ago, saying just Kotler is dead. Kotler is a well-known person in the marketing scenery, so some would say the Pope of marketing. And we could make the same slide for strategy. We could also say Michael Porter is dead, or whoever. And lots of people spoke about this slogan. I just wanted to say that most of the traditional concepts of marketing strategy management were developed in the 50s and 60s for fast-moving consumer goods, for soaps, yeah? And some companies still apply these old ideas in our liquid modernity. So, and then they wonder that they do not succeed. Yeah? So we need new ideas in marketing and management and in consumer orientation. And I'll try to give you a few of these new ideas. I have to skip a few slides because there is a clock that tells me I have 12 minutes and 30 seconds, and so it runs faster and faster, as